For beekeepers, winter has always been the big one, right? The great challenge. But what happens when winter itself just stops playing by the rules? We're about to dive into a huge, fundamental shift in how we protect one of our most important partners in agriculture, the honeybee.
So, this is the big question facing beekeepers right now. With climate change, you get these weirdly warm winter days that lure the bees out, followed by a sudden, deadly freeze. The old ways of doing things, they just aren't cutting it anymore. The bees are getting confused, their colonies are suffering. So how on earth do you adapt?
Okay, so you might think this is a pretty niche idea, but the data tells a really interesting story. While it's not the majority, not yet anyway, a full quarter of commercial beekeepers in the US are already bringing their hives indoors for the winter. That's a huge trend, and believe me, it's being driven by some of the biggest names in the business.
And when we talk about big names, they don't get much bigger than Jason Miller of Miller Honey Farms. See, he didn't just try indoor wintering, he completely reinvented it. He built what you can only really describe as a state-of-the-art, high-tech hotel for bees.
Now, this wasn't some overnight success story. Not at all. Miller's journey started way back in 2012 with these scrappy experiments in old rented potato sheds. But after 5 years of learning what worked and what didn't, he took all that knowledge and built something nobody had ever seen before. A true bee biosphere.
The sheer scale of this place is just mind-boggling. We're talking 18,000 square feet. To give you some perspective, that's basically the size of a sports field house. And the whole thing is completely climate-controlled, dedicated to keeping bees in this perfectly dark, cool, and calm state.
And in that massive space, he can fit up to 32,000 hives. The operation is so big that it was actually designed for full-size semi-trucks to literally drive right in one end, get unloaded by a forklift, and then drive straight out the other. I mean, this is beekeeping on a truly industrial scale.
But here's where the story takes a really fascinating turn. The whole point of the building was just to keep the bees safe through winter. But in doing that, they stumbled upon this incredible, unexpected discovery. The facility had a superpower, a revolutionary new way to fight the bees' deadliest enemy. And that enemy is the Varroa destructor mite. Honestly, for beekeepers, this parasite is public enemy number one. It's an absolute nightmare that weakens colonies and spreads viruses. Fighting them is this constant uphill battle. So here's the genius part. Because the facility is completely sealed, they can control the atmosphere inside with incredible precision. For about 10 days, they intentionally jack up the carbon dioxide levels to 50,000 parts per million. Now, normal air is only about 400. This is stressful for the bees, for sure, but in their dormant winter state, they can handle it. The mites, not so much. And the results? They were absolutely astounding. Hives would go in with worrying mite levels, and after the CO2 treatment, those levels were more than cut in half. This was a massive breakthrough. And get this, it was done without using any of the traditional chemical pesticides inside the hive. That means no chemical residue and less chance for the mites to build up resistance. It's a huge win. And on top of that, there was this fantastic, almost funny bonus. As Dr. Robin Underwood from Penn State points out, the same high CO2 environment that's so tough on mites, well, it's also lethal to mice, another big pest that loves to get into these indoor facilities. So 2 pests, 1 solution. Pretty clever, huh?
So you can see, this is way more than just a place to park bees for the winter. It's like it has unlocked this whole new toolkit for beekeepers, giving them strategies and options that were basically impossible just a few years ago.
Take queen banking, for example. Beekeepers always need strong new queens first thing in the spring to grow their colonies. The problem is you can't raise local queens until the weather warms up. But with a facility like this, you can raise a bunch of healthy queens in the fall, bank them safely indoors all winter, and have them ready to go on day 1 of spring. It is an absolute game changer.
Or how about this for a clever strategy? Forcing a brood break. Remember those awful Varroa mites? Well, they need baby bees, the brood, to reproduce. So you move the hives indoors for about 3 weeks, even in the middle of summer. This tricks the queen into stopping laying eggs. With no new brood, the mite's life cycle is completely shattered, making any treatments you apply after that way more effective.
And really, when you zoom out, it all comes back to adapting to our changing climate. These facilities are basically a safe haven. They keep the bees from flying out on those dangerously warm winter days. They shield them from pests like yellow jackets late in the season.
And they even give beekeepers a cool place to work during extreme summer heat waves.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This is all amazing for a gigantic operation with a huge budget, but what about everyone else? Well, that's the really exciting part. This whole concept, these principles, they're now being scaled down and made accessible for more people.
Yeah, this isn't just a story about one mega farm anymore. It's about a whole new approach to beekeeping that's starting to become available to operations of all different sizes. And you can tell the tech is getting into more hands from stories like this one. Dr. Underwood has this hilarious quote that just perfectly captures what it's like for a first-time user of one of the smaller units. She's describing someone's reaction. I open it up, and there's dead bees on the floor, they're all dying, and she's like, that's normal. That's normal, it's fine. You can just imagine the panic, but it shows people are learning and adapting to this new tool.
And this is how it's happening. Companies like HiveTech Solutions are creating these incredible pods that are essentially a Swiss Army knife for beekeepers. They're rentable, they get delivered on the truck, you can monitor your hives remotely from an app on your phone, and you can use the pod for other stuff too, like warming up honey supers or freezing frames to kill pests or just storing your gear.
So, when you put it all together, the mega facilities and the small-scale pods, the mic control and the queen banking, you start to realize this isn't just a collection of new tricks. This is a whole new paradigm. It's a fundamental shift in how we care for bees.
What we are really witnessing is the birth of a whole new field, something we can call controlled environment beekeeping. It's a move away from just reacting to the seasons and the weather, and a move toward proactively managing the health of these colonies in a super precise, data-driven way.
And all of this leaves us with a really big question, doesn't it? We rely so heavily on these tiny insects for a huge chunk of our food supply. So, as our climate becomes more and more unpredictable, this fusion of ancient husbandry and modern technology, it might just be the most important partnership we have to ensure our own food security.